Welcome to the Business Book Awards Black Lives Matter author interview series.
Hello, I'm here with Chris Wilson, who is an entrepreneur, author of the book The Master Plan, which was the winner of the Business Book Awards International Business Book of the year 2020, this year. Chris is a serial social entrepreneur. He is a mentor and a storyteller, and he has had the most extraordinary life, which is all documented in his book. So I won't ask him to talk about that, because you need to read, everybody needs to read Chris's book or listen to the book and hear Chris telling it himself. Chris, tell us what's been happening for you in the States in recent weeks.
Well, in the recent weeks, I have been mostly on quarantine. I started painting about 3 years ago, so I've been mostly on quarantine, just making art, painting. But unfortunately, I've been watching the world fall apart with the coronavirus. It started out with myself being sick, really sick from the virus in late January. I was sick for a long time, actually, for about 18 days. And doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I went back to the hospital. I had trouble breathing, and I got a lot of people sick. Got my doctor sick. She got her child sick. I got my assistant sick. But I eventually recovered. And once I started getting well, a lot of people around the country started getting sick. And so I essentially just put myself on lockdown. I'm here in my studio and just started making art and just writing.
And then Black Lives Matter happened, and how did that change things for you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I guess first, like, Black Lives Matter has been active for a very long time here, well, some years here in America. But you know, the unfortunate events of George Floyd being killed by police officers. A combination of him being killed and how the coronavirus has exposed inequalities in our healthcare system, particularly people of race, was like the perfect storm here in America. And it just like erupted all over the country. And so, like, we're going through some very difficult times right now because of, like, this virus, and because of like the abuse we've been experiencing, the oppression that we've been experiencing from police departments, or just like America in general. Like it's I feel like the country wasn't designed or built with Black people in mind. So now we're just like, we're getting to see it unedited now. So that's what's happening.
And how have you been? I mean, you are a social activist, and you always have done. Your book talks about needing to change the system and wanting to change the system. What have you found yourself doing over the last few weeks in that sense?
Right. So I've been making a lot of art. I've been documenting what I've been seeing and experiencing throughout this historic time. I think that we all will be talking about 2020 for the rest of our lives, and it's not even over yet. But so I've been documenting what I've been witnessing through my art. I've been writing articles. I've been supporting protesters financially. I've been doing some marching myself. But what I think is most important for us, because, you know, I wrote about in the book 2015 when Freddie Gray was killed by the police, and the world shined this spotlight on Baltimore. And we were all optimistic that, like, things would change, and they forgot about us. And our city actually got worse. And so this time around, I am actually more optimistic, cautiously optimistic, because now we're thinking, like, we want to see real change. So when we talk about defund the police, like, police are funded, they get a lot of money, and, you know, they do stuff like, for example, they get a lot of money to keep helicopters over top of Black neighborhoods, and they just shine the flashlight, and it's incredibly expensive. And so when we say here that we want to defund the police, We want the money that we would spend on helicopters to shine those lights all over these Black and brown neighborhoods to go towards like community-oriented programs that actually has been proven to reduce violence and do good in the communities. And so like that's one thing that, because of all what's happening in the world, we have a lot of momentum where we can push legislation to get stuff like that to happen. Other things are more people are waking up, particularly white people are being educated to what's happening to Black and brown people, especially what the police are doing to us. And so now we have an opportunity to hold our elected officials accountable, right? So and I'm talking states attorneys and judges and people who have a lot of discretionary power. It's time to advocate towards getting the right people to represent our communities. So those are a couple things that I'm excited about, and that's happening here.
That sounds amazing. So what kind of conversations are you having with people at the moment? Are you having very different conversations with your Black friends and with your white friends? Are people coming to you and asking for your advice about what they should do and how they should feel about things?
Right. So yes, every day actually, but the conversations are different. I will say that like in the past like month or whatever, it's like the most I've cried in my entire life, I think. I told my therapist, like she asked me to describe it, and I said, it's rage. And it's just like feeling just angry about like what's happening to us, and it keeps happening. And I mean, it's painful. And so that's what I've been feeling. And that's the conversations I've been having, especially like with my Black friends. With my white friends, it's been different. Some have been like angry as well, or rage, they would describe. But a lot of folks have seemed to be like, I'm just finally like understanding how effed up this is, or how like wrong this is, because it wasn't happening to me. I grew up differently. I live in like this particular bubble where the stuff that like Black people experience, I just didn't get a chance to know what it feels like, or really like truly empathize. And so a lot of my friends have like been calling me and been like really like messed up about, and these are like people that I've known for like years. And then the question is like, well, what can I do? How can I be involved? And I think this is healthy because we have to have these conversations. Like we gotta have these uncomfortable conversations about white privilege, and just like how it's just different. It's just different. Like when I see a police officer, I'm afraid. I don't even look at the police officer, or maybe I won't go into a store, especially now that we have to wear masks. And I'm always hesitant when I see a police officer in the store. It's like I won't go in because I'm just worried I might get shot, because they might say I'm trying to rob the place or something. But this is how Black people grew up because of our experiences here in America. And so I'm having these conversations with white people or people that's not Black. And I think it's healthy. I think it's a step in the right direction. And what I hope is that white people will step up and think about us when it's time to vote, when it's time to elect officials who can really enact change in this country.
I can certainly tell you as a privileged white person that it's, I suppose I've thought that I was reasonably aware of things, but I absolutely was not. And the things I've learned and understood, and I'm nowhere near the end of it, have been, really, really shocking and life changing. So, and reading your book was one of those experiences for me. I mean, what you have been through and what you have fought against and fought through and turned your life around has been absolutely extraordinary. I mean, have you found that your book has been a way of getting the message across to people?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And it is the reason I wrote the book. And like people who know me now, actually, like, I'm actually a nice person. I'm not violent. I don't have like, crazy like habits or whatever. And I felt like it was important to tell my story so that people who don't come from where I come from can understand how a person like me get swept up into the criminal justice system. And most people, like I'm lucky, I'm blessed, and it's just a rare occasion for someone like myself to go through everything. I mean, I have every reason to be messed up, but I'm not. And I'm talking about based on like the things that I've been through. But it was important for me to tell my story and to write this book because people who don't understand or come from where I come from, I think it's a benefit for them to be educated about how we end up like in prison, or how we end up, or like how America is structured, or just like how it is the plight of Black people in this world. And so that's why I felt it was important to write the story. And, you know, it was difficult to write, actually.
Sure, it was. It must have been really quite traumatic to live through everything, to write the story of your life again. But yeah, I mean, it was, as I say, it's an absolutely extraordinary book, and I'm just so glad that we could give it a bit of recognition. Has it helped at all to have won the Business Book Award?
Yes, absolutely. I was just on a call before this call, and so the book is being turned into a feature film. And so I remember, I was just on the call, and I was just talking about, I was letting them know that I won this award, and they all were like super excited, and they wanted me to send them some information about it. And it feels really good. I remember recording myself watching this screen during the quarantine, and when I finally got confirmation that I had won, and I had my champagne here, and I was celebrating, and it made me think back to when I was 19 and when I was in prison with a life sentence and hadn't done anything really positive in my life. And I wrote up the master plan of all the things that I wanted to do. And so to see my book win an award, International Business Book Award, was like confirmation that everything that I worked towards or whatever was the right thing. And so I've been telling all my friends, and I've been going back into prisons and like doing Zoom calls with folks and talking about it. And I just hope that it gives confidence and inspiration to other Christies and Christines of the world who want to turn their lives around and want to do something awesome with their lives. I hope it inspires them like to want to follow in my footsteps, or even like do something better than what I did. So thanks again for it. So it was so I'm still waiting for my actual like trophy or like plaque that I can hang.
But out for a time as well, but we will be, and it's such a shame that we weren't able to have the actual awards, and you weren't able to fly over and collect your award. But hopefully, if we have if we manage to have an actual event for next year's awards, maybe you'll come and be a guest there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I come there all the time. I love it there. So it's pretty cool.
That would be brilliant. So, Chris, I know that, publishing is a niche area, and business book publishing is an even more niche area. But what do you think can happen to help more people like you tell their stories? How can we make the world of publishing more accessible to people?
I think that it's a couple of things that we can do, right? So I think we can highlight particularly our people of color, our authors. We can highlight them through like their books, doing events, Zooms, reaching out to schools and institutions to use our books as like first reads. And I mean, because like what that does is like, it's very tough. It's difficult wherever you're at as an African American or minority to get into a space and be successful when it's a predominantly white space. And so I think what we can do is we can shine light on our authors and our champions, and panel discussions, looping them in, and letting them know that we are appreciated, I think. it's not always the case. So that's at least one thing that we can do. Just let our voices be heard.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's very that's a very good and powerful point. In terms of the Business Book Awards, we've championed, we have promoted initially more women writing business books, because they were, in the first year, they were very underrepresented. The first year of our Business Book Awards are all our winners, 11 award winners, and I have to say they were brilliant, the books were great, but they were all white men. So the next year we did a lot of work on trying to get more women to write their books and submit their books. And then this last year we have worked on, we've championed diversity in all its forms. And we have a much more diverse judging panel, for example, and we have we had more entries from more diverse authors, and our winners, I think, were more diverse. Do you think we should concentrate on Black authors, or do you think we should stay focused on diversity generally in the next years?
I honestly think we should focus on diversity in general. And the reason why I say that, and it's just like this me being genuine, right? Like I have, Indian friends from Colombia, from Mexico, El Salvador. And, I'm genuinely like an inclusive like person. And I think, there's talent everywhere, especially, supporting our women. When we think about like publishing, and to your point of like it just all being white men being published, I know that a lot of it was more submissions this go around of like women, but like women are dope. Like, and we should. It's not even like favoritism, right? It's just like finally shedding a light on like their dopeness is like necessary. If you think about like other industries like Hollywood and stuff, like it's like the same thing. Like it's nothing wrong with like champion our women, and so I think that's in other like if you talk about like races and like different nationalities, right? We should champion our folks who otherwise wouldn't get a chance. I remember getting out of prison and going back to college, and it was just like all women in college, like killing it. And I think that's a trend all around like America. And I was like, why isn't anyone talking about this? And so it's nothing wrong with just champion folks who otherwise wouldn't be talked about. But I don't think it should just be like Black people, even though we're dope, right? We're awesome folks. But I don't want to leave like folks out, because I just think about my own plight. And it's a lot of women, a lot of people of different like races, almost majority minority folks who supported me. And so I think they deserve to be championed as well.
Right. Well, that's really interesting to hear. And Chris, thank you very much for speaking to me. And I hope that you will come over and we will have a fantastic, diverse event next year. And it would be great to have you there.
Thank you so much.